Hello again. Uh, I've been talking in my previous two little videos about balance and how karma uh, works out to always generate a balance in this system that we live in, which is one of duality that demands balance. And it's all very well to talk about and learn how to understand how to balance the energies and to use the laws of karma to unblock energy impediments and allow the free flow of energy and to reduce stress. But it's, as I say, it's all very well to talk about it, but how in fact can we accomplish this within our personalities? I mean, we're all human beings, and a lot of us don't really understand how these laws work out and how they affect us in everyday life. And even if we do understand, in principle, how the laws of karma and duality manifest in this existence, to actually live in accordance with that is another thing altogether. And it can be a struggle, and it can take many years of practice to master the techniques that are required to live in accordance with the spiritual laws that are responsible for the working out of reality as we know it. And indeed, that this is why people dedicate their whole lives to spiritual studies, and enter monasteries and ashrams and study books continually, and are seekers. That people become seekers after spiritual truths. And in the past, in the past age, which astrologers describe as the Piscean age, there are other names for it, the past ages, depending on one's belief system or one's religion. And in the past age, the mysteries, the spiritual mysteries, the spiritual techniques were somewhat hidden. They were esoteric, not readily available to everybody. You had to go looking for them, searching them, and you had to find maybe a guru or teacher to illuminate these laws to you. But in the present time, we're going through a change from one age to another. As once again, the New Age astrologers would talk about the age of Aquarius, and there are other, as I say, there are other definitions for it. Christians, the return of the Messiah, Hindus, the end of the Kali Yuga. There's various different names, but all these descriptions are describing how we are at a point in our spiritual evolution, which the spiritual evolution is what underlines everything. The physical world is the physical, dense manifestation of spiritual energy. And so we're at a point where humanity has to make a paradigm shift in consciousness. And so these techniques, which in the past age were esoteric, are now becoming exoteric. They're becoming readily available for everybody, and they're no longer hidden. They're being exposed. And of course, computers and the IT industry is actually just one way, and a very effective way, by which teachings now are becoming very, very widespread. Many teachings, all of which basically talk about this paradigm shift of consciousness and awareness. How do we actually live this in day-to-day life? Because that's what's important. We don't want to be hidden away in ashrams and monasteries. We want to be living this in everyday, ordinary life. And this is what I feel my mission is. And I felt this all my life, at least since I was quite a young lad, that I was supposed to be here as a bridge to show people how one could live a perfectly ordinary life, a productive life, be a member of society, a fairly ordinary person, but at the same time still live in accordance with spiritual laws. And these spiritual laws are actually fairly simple. The basic principles are fairly simple. What is difficult is living these spiritual laws in day-to-day life. And so one of the first steps to allowing you to increase your awareness is to get a handle on your ego. We all have a physical body, we all have an emotional body, and we all have a mental body. And the ego is a product of our mental body, of our intellect. It's a thought form, if you like, of who we are. It's who we think we are. And the ego has an identity of its own, and it is insecure and competitive. And like all entities that are insecure, it likes to be in control. It's a control freak. People who like to be in control are insecure. That's why they need to be in control. And so our ego is competitive. It builds itself up by putting other egos down. It's competitive, so that means that it's confrontational. And in many ways, a lot of the problems facing humanity, a lot of the judgment is an ego trip, and we have to get a handle on our ego. We have to get control of our ego. And of course, it also involves our physical body, of course, because there are three legs to the stool of our personality. It's like a three-legged stool. We have a physical body, an emotional body, and a mental body. And our emotional body is how we feel about our thoughts, and our thoughts is how we think about our emotions. And so they work hand in hand. But the fact is, we need to get a control of our ego. And so I use the metaphor of a movie. And we're all stars in our movie. We're born into our movie. We're born as the star of our movie. And our ego, if you like, is the star of our movie. And a movie needs to have a star. It needs to have a good actor. It needs to have somebody who's good at playing the roles. But more important than who the actors are, it needs to have a good director. A movie without a director is going to fail. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a box office flop. And all movies have to have a director. And directors keep an eye on everything. They keep an eye on the actors. They know the plot. And they keep the lighting and everything. They basically they're the people who make the movie. Now, who is the director of your movie? It is you. And you say, well, I'm my ego, or my ego says, I'm your ego, I'm you. And no, it's not. You have a physical body, you have an ego. So who is you? Well, you is your spiritual self. And your spiritual self should be the director of your movie. But if you're not focused in your spiritual self, if you're focused in your ego, if you're not focused in your spiritual self, then your movie, in effect, does not have a director. And your life is going to be a little bit chaotic, maybe very confusing. You're always going to be your ego is always going to be trying to control the situations and plan ahead, and you'll find that you can't control other people. And you certainly, you plan in detail what your future is going to be, you're going to be disappointed or upset, because to expect reality to conform to your preconceptions and your plans is a recipe for disappointment. So you have to stay focused in your spiritual self, because your spiritual self is the director of the movie that you are starring in. So get your ego under control. If the director has to be in control of the actors, and it needn't be a repressive or a strict thing. You don't have to be puritanical. You don't actually have to do anything. You have to be. And that's a wonderful realization, because all of a sudden, when you just relax and meditate, or not, you don't have to meditate. A lot of people find it very useful. It is very useful. But you have to get in touch with your spiritual side and put your ego. We all have egos. I have an ego. I'm just the same as everybody else. But you have to not focus in your ego. If you focus in your spiritual self, then you can see your ego operating and you can direct it. You say, no, you're starting to make judgments. Don't make any judgments, because judgments bring separation and conflict, and you're not here for that. That's not what you're here for. So I'll leave it at that. Just as I say, you're a star of your own movie, and you have to also be the director of your movie, and the director of your movie is your spiritual self. And if you want to have a life that is rewarding, profoundly rewarding, if you want to have a life whereby you affect people in a positive way and make them feel good, and a life that manifests love, because that's the key. That's what we're here for. The love you get is equal. The love you take, it's a long time since I listened to the Beatles. The love you take is equal to the love you make. That's the balance again. So get in touch with your spiritual self. Focus always in your spiritual self. And your movie will be a blockbuster. It'll be awesome. So, see you later. Thanks very much.